Okay, so in the last video, I talked to you about component mode, and I went over the head of the robot and right-clicked to show you the object mode, which we've been using by default in Maya, and then edge, face, and vertex. And we talked about what each of these modes do. Okay. In this video, I'm going to actually use those modes to start doing some slight detailing of this robot. So it has a little bit more, I'll say, dexterity, some more creative form to it. It'll be a little bit less boxy, but not much. Okay. So I want a jawline for our little robot here. And so I'm going to right click over the object, the head in this case. And I'm going to select the edge here, right? So I'm in edge mode, and I'm going to use my move tool. Something I will tell you, if the tool is in your way, this tool here, which is the select tool, see how it gets rid of the tool so you can see? And because sometimes the tool will be in your way and you can't see it. So I'm using the move tool. I want to make sure I explain that the shortcuts I'm using, where we see the move tool, see where it says W? W on the keyboard is a shortcut for that. E is rotate, and R is scale. So I'm going to be using those shortcuts for my tools right now, right? So now that I have that edge, I'm going to slightly angle it so I get a nice little beginning of a jawline here. Okay. Now I could do more. I could do some things called edge loops and stuff like that, but I'm just sort of keeping it simple to the component modes for now. Okay. Um, but I'm going to use those to start giving me a little bit of detail. So for example, I'm going to click on the arm and I'm going to go into face and click on this face and I'm going to scale it. Okay. Just so I start getting that little angle so you can see the difference between this arm and this arm now, right? And I'm gonna go to the lower arm, right click over it and go to face. So notice how I keep having to click on the object first. So Maya knows which object I'm going to be working on and which component mode I'm interested in using. Okay. I'm going to go stay on the arm, the lower arm, but I'm going to scale that a little bit more tapered. So we see how it starting to taper. And now I'm going to go into the hand and go to the face and scale that so that I can taper that arm, that hand as well. Okay. Now, if I try to scale this sphere, keep in mind that sphere is the joint, so I don't want to oblong it because it won't rotate and move the way I want to. So I would scale it for the center, but watch what happens to the hand. Because the hand is parented to the joint, to the wrist joint, it's going to move as well. So if you're really into sort of reducing some of these and editing some of these, you may want to unparent them or do what I like to do is a save and a save as. If I do a save as, that means I get to do a few more things to it and I can go back to previous versions, which is always a nice thing to do. Okay, but I would have to unparent this to change this. So let me show you what I mean. Um, I am on the right side, on my right shoulder. I'm going to minimize my left shoulder so it's easy for me to see. And I see my wrist here, and I'm going to take it up and get that one line. Remember that one line instead of the two, instead of the whole shape? That one line so that I'm taking it out, do it again, of the parenting. And I'm going to take the hand out again by doing that one line versus that two, right? Right like that. So now the wrist is independent and by itself. So that when I scale it, I can make it smaller. Now, only reason why I'm scaling it is because I was tapering the forearm or the lower arm, and I was tapering um, the hand. And so so the joint started to seem to be a little bit too big for it because I've tapered both ends of the upper arm, the lower arm, and the hand. So that's a bit of um, a better shape, a better size, in my opinion. So I'm going to go back and reparent these. So again, I have my elbow joint. Remember, only a joint can be a parent in this case. And so I'm going to click on the wrist joint, middle mouse button click, and put it right on top of the elbow joint, right? So it's going to be equal with the lower arm, the elbow, the wrist is going to be equal with the lower arm because the lower arm is not a joint. So only a joint can be a parent, and a joint can be a parent and a child, where in this case, the things that are not joints can only be children. So I'm going to take this hand and I'm going to make it a child of the wrist joint. Okay, so that way when I click on the wrist, the hand is chosen too. And I know that when I get ready to animate this, I can move it as I please. Okay, so we can see now some differences that we're getting in our arm because we're starting to get these tapers nice, these nice tapers versus the other side, which is a little bit more clunky. Okay. If I work on the chest a little bit, I can decide if I want to bring in the chest a little bit. Like, for example, let's say I'm gonna right click and go into face mode for the chest, and I want the shoulders to sort of come in some. So I'm gonna bring them in this way. Okay. Um, Again, these are just choices I'm making. I'm sort of making this with a little bit more of what I'll consider a feminine body, but that's up to the beholder. So I'm gonna right click on the pelvis and go into face mode and click on the face down here and do that scaling just so I can get a nice little different form there, right? Um, so it's starting to do sort of more of a personalized shape. I'm gonna come underneath. I'm gonna click on the head again. I've already gotten a little jawline, but I'm gonna go to my face mode on the head, and I'm on the bottom part of the face. We can see that. And I'm gonna scale. I'm doing these scales from the center. Okay, just so again, I can get sort of that angling so that now, and I'll actually click on the top of the head now and angle that out. Just so that we're getting a little bit more angled and specification. So now, as I'm doing that, I'm gonna try to adjust, and I have to actually get rid of all this animation because this is going to look crazy when I try to animate this. Actually, I'll do it now so you can see it, but don't do this. And this is why you should do versions. Okay, so thankfully the joints are still animating, but I'm going to take the animation off of this because I don't need it here. Um, and I know I'm going to want to move some of these things around just so that I don't run into a problem. I'm just going through. So I'm on the shoulder joint, and we can see that that's what's animated here. But if I go to the left shoulder joint, see how we see that animation? And I'm just deleting the keyframes here. Um, okay. And I'm going to go up to the upper core, and I'm just going to delete the frames, the keyframes for the upper joint too, just so that I clean up this. I'll do the head, neck, I mean, not the head, but the neck joint next, just so that I'm deleting all of the animation, which will make it easier for me when I'm kind of editing the model now. Okay, so now I'm going to take that shoulder, that's the right shoulder, and I'm gonna use the move tool and just bring it closer again. I'm bringing it closer so that it fits it a little bit more, because again, I've started to alter the shape. So we can see how it really changes the way this robot looks. It really personalizes it a little bit more when I start to work this way. Okay. So there's a lot more I can do, but let's learn how to crawl before we walk, right? Let's take it slow. Bringing this down so that the joint sort of appears to meet and I kind of like it being low like that. I don't like the head coming into the to the chest. So I'm going to just angle it like this, and that'll be its default look. Okay. I could even take the head and bring it slightly forward. To me, that's too much. Okay. And so I'm gonna go ahead and I can do the other side, but I'm gonna wait instead of that because I want to take some opportunity here. I'm gonna do one side so that you see one side. I'm gonna select that hip, which is the right hip, and bring it over because now that we have that angle, I'm gonna come down to where my thigh is, or the robot's thigh. I'm gonna right click over it and click on face, and I'm gonna scale it. Now, again, the truth is I would be doing all of this before I parented it, because it would just make it easier for me. And if I need to right click face, if I needed to change the size of the joint, I could. Now I have to unparent everything in order to change the size of those joints because those joints are parented. Let's see. I kind of like this the way this is, but I am gonna alter the bottom of this lower leg. Let's click on the face, click on that face and scale it and taper it just so that it can mimic what I did to the arm. Okay. And I would recommend trying to do this exactly the way I'm doing it first, and then do something that's more, that might be different or more interesting to you to do, more creative for you to do. But I just wanted to do this so that you can kind of see that just by using the right click over it, go into face, and I think I'm gonna click on the front of this foot and begin to bring that out. So again, we start seeing that tapering. See how it tapers at the heel, but at where the toes go, it's coming out. Okay, so that now I start getting a little bit of reducing the boxiness and getting some taper into this. Okay, and then I would do the same to the other side, but I'm not going to do the same just yet. I want to show you something called edge loop and how I can use it here to get a little bit more shape. Now, I'm not going to go for the super round, and I know a lot of people like round. There's nothing wrong with adding enough mesh to get that round. It's just that that's not where I am with this yet. So I want to take my time with it. Okay, so here I am. And if I say, well, I'm glad I have sort of this angular shape for the head, but I kind of would like to see it bow out a little bit, and I can do that. And so for this, I'm going to go up in my menu, and I'm going to go to my mesh tool, and I'm going to go to insert edge loop. Okay, so you can see where I am. I'm in mesh tool, insert edge loop. So I click on that, and what that does is it allows me to put an edge loop, and you can see it coming in now, exactly where I want to put it, not just haphazardly all over the place. I don't recommend that you just start clicking all over like this. because then you end up with a lot of mesh. So I'm going to undo that. I don't want to do that at first because first I just want one edge loop here. Okay, so that I have that and I can begin to alter this. So notice how I get that little bow up. I can keep that one, but I want to first take this angle here where the face is and angle my face out. Okay, so that it begins to angle out and I begin to get that shape. Okay. Now, if I wanted it to be more round, because right now you just see this one angle here, right? But I'll show you something that I will delete, but I want to show you. If I wanted it to get more round, I'm going to go back to that edge loop, and I could have done an offset. Well, I'll do the offset just so that you see it. So I'm here, I'm gonna stay in object mode, and I did an edge loop first, right? Insert edge loop. Okay. This time I'm going to do offset edge loop. So I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to click on this edge. And notice how Maya is now giving me these two edge loops offset from here. And again, it's in the same place. Insert edge loop and offset edge loop. Okay. But what I can do with that, because we see how this line is is angled, but it's still straight. And if I wanted to get a little bit more curved, because I know a lot of people when they first started, they wanted to be, curved and smooth and super realistic. And I'm showing you these clunky things at first because you have to first start off with that and then get more smooth and all of those things that you like to do. But see how now this edge here that used to be completely straight, right? I'll go back. Right? It used to be a complete straight line. Hold down, shift, shift. I'm selecting those and bringing this in. Used to be that straight line. But now that I have these edges, I can begin to get a bit of a curve. Okay? Now, I didn't really want it that curvy, which is why I said I'm going to delete some of this, and I'll show you that in a second. But I did want to get a few angles. To delete this edge, I just double click on the edge. When I double click on one edge, it collects a whole edge loop, and then I can hit delete. Now, the shape isn't going to be completely gone yet because I have vertices sitting there. So let me go to vertex so that you can see it. See all these vertices sitting there? So all I have to do is simply select. See how I selected all these vertices? I don't have to worry about the wrong ones deleting because I deleted the edge first. When I hit delete, it deletes the vertices. So I'm gonna do the same thing on this side, go into edge mode, double click so I get a nice little loop of that, and I'm gonna delete it. But again, when I go into vertex, those vertices will be there that are loose and just sort of sitting there. I can select this whole thing. All I have to do is hit delete because Maya is only going to delete the loose vertices. Okay, I just wanted this angle here, which is why I deleted the others, because I just wanted that to sort of pop out. Now, let's say that while this edge I personally like, but let's say that I'm going to do another edge loop. Insert edge loop, because what I want to do now is make the head shape up a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna get my move tool and I'm only gonna select. See how the tool is in the way right now? That's when I hit Q to get it out of the way, and then I hit W for move, and then begin to angle this up. So if I wanted to do that, I could get that, and then I can decide if I want to use the scale tool and sort of scale that in. I don't think that's what I want. It's starting to look a little crazy. So it's not what I want to do. So I'm gonna undo that and undo that as well. Go into vertex mode to make sure you don't have any loose vertices, okay? But you can see here how all I have to do is do some tapering. And like I said, the edge loop is a great tool. You can use it or you cannot use it. It's up to you. But now I'm beginning to get some unique shaping of my choice versus just the clunky. There's nothing wrong with the clunky, but it just depends on what you want. Okay. So practice some of that and try some of that for yourself. Okay. It's a nice way to update this model and really make it yours. Okay.